Yeah, I think it'd be more less. It's more awkward.
Okay. All right. So for starters, introduce yourself for some of the people that might not be too familiar.
My name is Cameo Adele.
So you grew up in Anaheim, California.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So how would you describe growing up in Anaheim?
It's quiet. A lot of Mexicans. It's not super diverse. Very Latin based community. Um, so I find myself being like one of like the four black kids at my school. um,
So how does it feel? So you find yourself kind of like one of the four black
yeah,
kids. I mean, so did you ever feel out of place growing up, or how did
yeah,
that?
definitely. It's interesting because I was talking to someone who's Afro Latino, and that kind of grew up in my area too recently about how when you're growing up in that area like that, you don't realize that you feel ostracized because you're black until you meet other black people, and you're like, wow, we can relate on why we feel so alone here without a lot of us around.
So growing up in that type of environment, I guess you were exposed to like a lot of different types of music. So did you like listen to like the genre music and or like maybe Selena?
To a lot of Latin
Yeah,
music.
Latin music.
Um, yeah, more so like it's like a heavy alternative rock following there, like punk and screamo. So I think I grew up like listening to kind of like alternative rock, like Paramore or We the Kings, or I don't know, bands such as that.
Okay. So how did it influence your sound? Because you have a very like to me it's kind of like an electro, soul,
Yeah,
like a nice fusion. That's
definitely.
what I picked up.
Yes,
So
that's
how
good.
did that
That's exactly what I would classify
how
it
did the
as.
background well how did growing up in Anaheim influence that or just yeah Anaheim in general or being around family and
I think
friends?
it's more so family that influenced it because um, both of my parents are musicians. And my dad plays like funk soul. My mom sings like R&B, adult contemporary. I'm I grew up listening to like Motown, so it's more so like being around family and our genres that we are constantly listening to that I feel like shape my sound more so than my community. I would say that Anaheim could use a, a tighter community. That's one thing that like I find myself like going to Long Beach a lot because Long Beach community is so tight, whereas Anaheim it's not as tight knit. People don't know each other. People are more spread out. We're not engaging with each other the same way.
Okay, so you just mentioned that both of your parents did music.
Yes.
Now, we are in California, so a lot of people, I guess it's kind of like almost like a music capital, especially compared to places like Texas. You have a greater chance of making it in a place like this. So, I guess how far did your parents get musically, and how did that influence you? Because with the music industry, I think a lot of people understand it is a music industry, and you got musicians that create music, but then it's a whole business
Yeah,
aspect. And
yeah,
I personally feel like that's why a lot of artists can't figure it out because
yeah.
it's a whole business
It's
led.
strategy. Yeah, it's strategy. I mean, my dad, I guess, had a whole career in Japan doing music, um, but he also had his own band, which my mom ended up joining once they got married, called UWO, United World Orchestra, and it was like a mixture of all different races, and that's why he would call it United World Orchestra. Um, but I mean, other than like just doing lots and lots of shows, I think they got even offered to get a record deal like once or twice, but um, my dad is pretty stubborn when it comes to letting someone else take the reins, um, and just letting go of control for a little while, at least to get to a point where people know who you are and people care what you think, or at least to get the income to be able to build your own thing. Those kind of strategies. I feel like he had a lot of pride and he couldn't open up to those kind of strategies. So that when I think about that, I try to think like be open, like don't fall into that same rut. Like you don't want to be like 60 years old and still thinking it's gonna happen for you, or like I want it to happen now.
Definitely. So, the fact that you have two parents that were musicians, I'll just take a wild guess and say that they were supportive
Yes,
of you
very,
pursuing music
very.
from an early age.
Yes, very, very, very.
So when did you decide yourself that you wanted to sing?
I've kind of been singing my whole life because they're both musicians. Um, but I think around like 12 is when I started to like make my poetry into music and writing it to melodies. And then around 14, um, because for a long time I had like wanted to do music, but I didn't realize strategy. I wasn't thinking strategy. Um, I was just thinking, I love this thing. Let me just sing in my room all day, and then I'll be a musician. You know. So around 14, I think me and my mom were watching like American Idol, and I just started crying. I was like, I just realized that I want to do this thing, and nobody knows who I am. Like, I need to actually start pursuing this. Like, so we started to record my original music, and then after a few like failed attempts of like trying to find my sound, I finally was able to find a producer who we just clicked, and now that's who I work with, and we're kind of shaping our sound into this neo soul, this electro neo soul.
That's something that
I did X Factor. It was X Factor. Yeah.
describe that experience because a lot of people they watch shows like that. They see a lot of people doing stuff like that all the time. But I think even people like say it's a business, so they don't even understand what it took you even get on that YouTube episode.
Yeah.
Because it's a process before that.
Yeah.
So can you just describe that to people and how it really was, being a new artist and actually going through something?
Yeah. Well, first we had to we sign up online to get our interview. You wait our audition. You wait in this like long line of like ridiculous thousands amount of people. I think we went to the Gallon Center, USC Gallon Center, and they had us all like in this big stadium, like all the way around. There's people like waiting to audition, and there's like I think maybe 6 or 8 little booths set up on the ground where an artist will go in, do their short audition for producers, and then get to the next pass. And I believe that there's either another producer audition from there, or they just review your tapes. I can't remember exactly. But then you end up getting to a point where they call you and they're like, you could be on the live shows. So the video that is on YouTube is an interview after I did my live audition. So I was able to audition in front of like Simon and Demi Lovato and I think Kelly Rowland. And then I did that little interview afterwards. It's very much so a casting call. It's very much so like, are you going to fit the role that we're trying to fill? It's very much so that. It's not so much where we have this open book and we're just looking for artists. It's more so we have these type of artists that we want to find, and where are we going to find people that fit into these boxes? For me personally, it was a great experience, but I do feel like I am more raw of an artist than a family-friendly artist that those type of shows try to cater to. So it's kind of good that it didn't work out.
It's funny because that was 2013.
Mm-hmm.
You look at like the music world now, it's like they're a lot more accepting of like just different type of artists in general. Like someone even with the style that you're displaying. Like a couple years ago, it would have been like, whoa, but now it's kind of like it's almost the it thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's very different.
Mm-hmm. It's like eccentric.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe that everybody's on. So in that instance right there, you got a chance, like I said, to be in front of like Simon Cowell, Kelly Rowland. A lot of people would take an experience like that and say, okay, I messed up, or it didn't go the way I planned it. But in reality, you're in front of some top dog people right there. So how did that inspire you to keep going musically?
All of them had great feedback. All of them were like, you have a great look, you have a great sound, you have great potential to be, a really well-rounded artist. I think for me, it just pushed me to realize like there are people out there really, really, really doing this, and there's a work ethic that entails, like in order to like get like to the level of talent where like you can go up there on the stage, sing one song, and then the rest of your life can be changed. There's a level of work ethic that's put into like getting to that level of talent. So I think it really like lit that fire for me, where I was like, work, sing more, do more shows, do whatever you need, work on your image more, like whatever you need to do to strategize being a complete, well-rounded artist, as they were saying that I had the potential to be.
Definitely, you definitely progressed a lot. Like I said, we were watching the Sensation video. It was very different. Did you direct that yourself, or how did you actually put that together?
I work with a videographer from Long Beach named Aloha Royce. and he had hit me up randomly and was just like, I love your music. I would love to do a video with you. So we started to brainstorm on ideas that we could do. We watched a lot of reference videos. I think one of Quinn's videos was a reference for that video for Sensation. We just thought of like dope locations. We thought of the aesthetic that we wanted to you know, put forward. I don't know. And just like also capture my duality. You know, I think that video does a really good job of capturing my duality, where, you know, one side of me is this kind of like andro baggy, you know, lost soul, while this other side of me is this more elegant, um, queen divine, you know, type of being. So it was dope how we were able to encompass all of those things in that video.
Definitely. So, speaking of videos, I'm sure you plan to do more.
Mhm.
So, what's the next video that people should expect to see?
Right now we have a video for the last track on To You from Venus, my album, called The Future. We already shot it. We're just waiting for a visual artist to get in there and like do some cool stuff with it. We're also working on a video for Run off of To You from Venus. I'm really excited for how everything's turning out. We definitely want to get all the Afrocentrism, Afrofuturism vibes in there. And just trippy visuals. I like to do psychedelic stuff, you know. I like to make people think like, oh, huh?
I said definitely gotta make people think.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, even with the mixtape cover, you know, it's like you on a, I don't know, is that Venus or is that the moon?
That's the moon. Yeah.
Okay, so describe the album cover for some people that they might be a little confused by it. Tell us what it means.
Okay, the whole album is kind of encompassed around like astrology. I'm super spiritual. I'm super connected to the universe around me, or I like to believe that I am. And kind of studying astrology has helped me to make sense, or just to organize some of the things that I believe. So in astrology, the moon signifies emotion. And I kind of have her dripping. The woman is dripping over emotion, so it's almost like her submitting herself to emotion. So it's very vulnerable. It's kind of about vulnerability, and the album itself goes through like a love story. It processes through step by step through a story, and I just wanted it from the get go. You're like, she's vulnerable. Like, you know, you want to get that message immediately while you're listening to it. I'm Cameo Adele. You can find me on iTunes. You can find me on SoundCloud. You can find me on Spotify. You can find the hard copies for To You from Venus at cameoadele.com. Shout out to 22-11 for hitting me up for this interview. It's been so much fun.